This is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to talk about that Cardano guy who's saying we should turn off the Bitcoin mining machines. This is Charles Hoskinson. He's the founder of the cryptocurrency Cardano. I'll link to his video in the description notes below, but the basic argument that he made in this video yesterday is that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment. Of course, this is a claim that I've debunked extensively on this channel, but let's just take it at face value here. Hoskinson says that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment. Most Bitcoin has already been mined. So his thought experiment or proposal is let's just turn off all the Bitcoin miners, convert all the existing Bitcoin into various forms of wrap Bitcoin that can then live on networks like Ethereum and Cardano. And this will be quote unquote better for the environment since both Cardano and Ethereum are proof of stake coins, not proof of work like Bitcoin. Now, this seems like a reasonable proposal, at least to an outsider who may not know a lot about this space. So let me go into it and demonstrate why this is really a terrible idea and possibly hint at some of Hoskinson's motivations for making a suggestion like this. And we have to remember that he is proposing a rival currency called Cardano. And so we have to understand where everyone's incentives are. So what is wrap Bitcoin? Wrap Bitcoin, also known as WBTC, is an ERC20 token that trades on the Ethereum network. Basically, you go to this regulated company called BitGo, you give them one real Bitcoin, and then they will issue tokenized Bitcoin against that. They'll issue you one wrapped Bitcoin. And that wrapped Bitcoin can then be used all over DeFi since it lives on the Ethereum network. And again, this is DeFi, this is decentralized in name only because that Bitcoin only has value based on the backing of the real Bitcoin, which is held by the custodian BitGo, which as we said is a regulated company. So then what happens when you want to go and get your BTC back? Basically, you bring them your wrap Bitcoin and you say, I want to get my Bitcoin back. You basically need to go back to BitGo, this big company, and say, pretty please. And if for some reason regulators or law enforcement tell BitGo not to give you your BTC back, then you're out of luck. You're basically stuck with your wrap Bitcoin, which is basically just a Bitcoin IOU. And this is the real difference. BTC itself, Bitcoin itself, is trustless, permissionless money, whereas wrap Bitcoin, WBTC, requires trusting and asking permission from a regulated custodian to convert it back into BTC. BTC, the asset, lives on Bitcoin, the network, which is this network of miners and full nodes. And this is the only place that you can use it in a permissionless peer-to-peer manner. So what Charles really wants to do in this proposal, he wants to neuter Bitcoin by giving over control of it to networks like Cardano or Ethereum, where large staking pools and insiders control the consensus mechanism. If you're finding this video helpful so far, I just ask you to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button if you'd like to support the channel in that way. So Bitcoin itself, real BTC on the Bitcoin network, is a bearer asset. In many ways, it's like a bar of gold or a bar of digital gold. And what a bearer asset means is there's no counterparty risk and no one can freeze your money. So when you have some BTC, when you have some Bitcoin and the corresponding private key, so we're assuming you're holding your own private keys, you're not leaving it on a custodial exchange like Coinbase, for example. When you have your own key and you can sign transactions, you can then send that Bitcoin to anyone in the world without needing to ask anyone's permission. And by contrast, wrap Bitcoin requires permission to redeem. So there is this counterparty risk. It's not a bearer asset in the same way that BTC is. And I can guarantee you, if you go to BitGo, this large company, with some wrap Bitcoin that's associated or been associated with Tornado Cash addresses on Ethereum, and Tornado Cash was basically censored by OFAC and by the US Treasury. If you go with some wrap Bitcoin that's associated with these addresses, I can guarantee you that you won't be able to get your BTC back. So these are the key differences. Wrap Bitcoin is not real Bitcoin. So then we have to go into motivations, and this is where it might become more speculative and where I might get myself into some trouble. Why does this billionaire Charles Hoskinson apparently care so much for the environment and is so worried about Bitcoin's energy usage? It's funny because there's a lot of capital that's tied up in a shitcoin like Cardano, ADA. And this is capital. When you stake capital in a protocol like Cardano or Ethereum, this is capital that disappears from the system. And there's always an opportunity cost to doing this. So you could either stake your capital with Cardano, for example, or you could take that same capital and put it to work building wind turbines, solar panels, or nuclear power plants, which are zero carbon, which offer zero carbon emission, at least the nuclear power plants do. So maybe there's another explanation for Charles pearl clutching when it comes to Bitcoin's energy usage. It turns out that he's a large recipient of Cardano from the pre-mine, which he then stakes. And according to Corey Clipston, Charles Hoskinson is making approximately $40 million a year from staking his Cardano. And this $40 million a year can buy you a really nice lifestyle, I imagine. The problem with this is these were ship coins that were printed up and allocated to insiders like Charles Hoskinson. 17% of Cardano was issued to insiders, as we can see here in a pre-mine. Charles Hoskinson himself, at least according to this book, Out of the Ether, is a fairly problematic person. This book describes him as a pathological liar, a sociopath, someone not to trust in the company of your girlfriend. He tried to convince people that he was Satoshi Nakamoto. He also claimed that he got his limp by jumping out of an Apache helicopter in Afghanistan. He claimed to be associated with the CIA or DARPA. And even Vitalik was not a fan of Charles. And as this book suggests, Vitalik says, I was kind of caught off guard by this because Charles was always nice to me. But Charles seemed to be one of those people that seem to be pretty common in the world who are nice to their superiors, but abuse their subordinates. And so if you look online, you find a lot of nasty things that people are saying about Charles Hoskinson and his motivations. Now, I should let you guys know, whenever I make a video about Cardano, I get multiple emails and comments like this. This was a comment that was posted and then deleted so no one else could see it, but I want to share with you the risks that I'm taking by making videos like this. Basically, I was criticizing Charles Hoskinson's political involvement, and this person who I've made anonymous here told me that a lot of my comments are borderline libelous and slanderous. And then he said, I hope you have deep pockets with those kind of statements. I just spoke with Charles Hoskinson 2 weeks ago in Austin, and he doesn't appreciate liars like you. And so I get threats like this, threats of lawsuits, whenever I make a video like this about Hoskinson. I should say I don't know Hoskinson personally, even though we both live in Colorado. I'm sure he's a great guy in real life, as I like to say. Everything that I know about him has been taken from widely available public sources, like that book that I just referred to. And I don't know if these allegations are true or not, so I would encourage all of you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. If you've been in this space long enough, the one funny thing that you'll begin to notice is that every single scammer talks about how bad Bitcoin purists or Bitcoin maximalists like myself are. Here's Mashinsky from the Celsius scam talking about how bad Bitcoin maximalists are. Now, I'm not calling Charles Hoskinson a scammer, but he does seem to have it in for Bitcoin maximalists if you watch his videos. I would also like to point out here that in my opinion, at least, Cardano is clearly a security under the Howey test. And I believe that the SEC should sue Hoskinson and Cardano for issuing unregistered securities. Again, that's just my personal opinion. But when you take a look at the Howey test and you see how it works, you can see that there was an ICO and that Cardano looks very much like unregistered securities. Another thing I wanted to point out, which is pretty funny, just for its meme value, this is John Carvalho pointing out that the Cardano logo looks like an anus. And Carvalho goes on to point out to say that the designer wanted to capture the ship coin essence and show exactly where users will feel it when they get wrecked. I think this is something that once you've seen, it's very, very difficult to unsee. If you want to learn more about my views on Cardano, you can watch this one about social credit scores for kids, and you can also read Kalkasa's Medium essay here about how he believes that Charles Hoskinson is scamming the Ethiopian government. Again, these are his words. I have no idea whether Charles Hoskinson is a scammer or not. You need to do your own research. But I think this is the context you have to have when you hear someone like this who makes a huge amount of money from Cardano staking, basically suggesting that we shut down one of the key things that makes Bitcoin so neutral and so difficult to control, which is proof of work. And he's suggesting that we instead move Bitcoin over to the Ethereum network or the Cardano network, where it can be controlled and captured. And this is something that will never happen. But I thank Charles for the thought experiment and for the opportunity to use this really as a teaching moment about what makes Bitcoin very, very special, and what the motivations of people who have printed up their own money, like Charles Hoskinson, what their motivations may be. If you found this video helpful, I'd ask you to hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.